Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Floodlights Camera Action, your home for the weekly reaction to latest films and football. From John C. Riley to John Arisa, we'll cover the lot. I'm Jack, but podcast is only as good as its co-host, so every week I'll be joined by my good friend Veronica to dissect all things film and football. Veronica, how are you?
I'm very tired. I was going to say jet lagged, but it's just the time zone really is not that far away. So I'm just going to go with time.
Well, it's a little teaser because this week is the Venice Film Festival 2024 special. Now, normally, the way we structure these episodes is we'll go football, then a guest, then film. But because Veronica has been to Venice for the fabled film festival, we thought we're gonna flip the episode. We're gonna be rogue. Veronica, let's start with just broad strokes. How was your trip over the last week?
It was good. Like, I love going there. It's my second time. I hope I go back next year as well because I love it. Like, I didn't watch as many things last year, but I have excuses for that. The things I did watch, some of them were just incredible. So I can't wait to talk about them.
Now let's start with either the first film that comes to mind, or not film. A little teaser for you there, or the first film that you saw. What was one thing that you saw in Venice?
Yeah. Well, your teaser was exactly what I was thinking about. The first thing I saw, which it was in two parts, it was a series, Apple TV series called Disclaimer. It was the first four episodes on the first day, and then the second day I watched the episodes 5 to 7. It's only 7 parts. It's a limited series. It stars Kate Blanchett, who is incredible. It also stars Sacha Baron Cohen, who is completely unrecognizable. Like, I only realized it was him in the show when I saw the credits. That's how good he is at not being himself. Um, it's directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who honestly hasn't impressed me too much in the past of his films, but his work here is amazing. There's also this Australian actress who I looked up on Letterboxd afterwards, and she doesn't have many acting credits. She plays a younger version of Kate Blanchett. Her name is Layla George, and she's really, really, really good. Also, Olivia Rodrigo's boyfriend, Louis Partridge, he's also in this, but I don't really know anything much about him. He did a good job. I gave it 5 stars. It's really, 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 really incredible. Like, it's one of the I don't really watch shows a lot, but this is just brilliant. Like, everyone has to watch it. I know many people do not have Apple TV and people do not care about Apple TV, but some stuff that comes out of it is really incredible. Like, I was at the press viewings of this, and the press are usually quite harsh. But yeah, Jack, you want to say something?
As a student of education, I would highly recommend using the Apple student deal. For £5 a month, you get Apple Music and Apple TV. I I just think that's a great deal. If you didn't know about that, you can watch a disclaimer when it comes out if you use that deal. So a little heads up for the people at home.
Yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, anyone who's a student, go and do that and watch Disclaimer, please. Uh, Press screening, usually they are quite harsh. They usually hate everything. But oh my god, like, you could feel every single person in the screening at the edge of their seats the whole time. The whole time. And both parts were like 3 to 4 hours of just sitting there watching. And the tension in the room was insane the whole time. It's very strange because I've never watched a TV series at a cinema surrounded by that many people, but it was such a fun experience because TV series kind of have a lot of twists and turns most of the time. And it's not kind of like a start and stop like a film. Every episode has a cliffhanger, and then the next one starts, and everyone just is so excited. You could just tell. Um, but anyway, I don't know if this is embargoed. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I actually don't know if I can talk about this because I went on Letterboxd and the reviews are like not allowed yet. So I actually don't know if I can talk about it. Probably I can. Whatever, doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna talk about the plot as what is out there already. I'm not gonna say anything more than that. Series is about a journalist played by Kate Blanchett who is, kind of like the very morally high grounded That makes no sense. She's very morally high grounded. She has a husband played by Sacha Baron Cohen. She has a son played by Cody Smith McPhee, who's also really good. He was in Power of the Dog, which is a very great film that got taken off Netflix, even though it's a Netflix film. And you can only buy it on Criterion Collection now. So thanks, Netflix, for removing your own film. And anyway, she's a journalist. She's super smart and great, and she makes documentaries about stuff. And then a book shows up at her house called The Perfect Stranger. I don't know if I could say that, but it's called The Perfect Stranger. And she reads it and she realizes that this book is about her. She's like the main character in this book that's been sent to her. And it just has a massive impact on her life in every single way. And there are so many twists and turns in the story. It's not boring. It's not exactly what it looks like ever. I don't even know if I can say anymore because, like I said, it still might be embargoed. But when it releases on Apple TV, please, please, please watch it. It's one of the best shows I think I've probably seen. Maybe one of my favorite limited shows alongside something like Big Little Lies. And Jack just sent me that the review embargo is on the 30th of August. Okay, that's fine then. We'll be fine. Uh, it's only 7 episodes, like I said. You can get through it quickly, like in 2 days or something. It's brilliant the whole way through, and it's really, really, really recommended by me. I cannot recommend it enough. I saw the red carpet just because I was walking past while it was happening, and they all looked great. So yeah, that's well, it's not the disclaimer. I keep calling it the disclaimer. It's not the disclaimer. It's just called disclaimer, and yeah, it's about the fact that things aren't as they seem, and it's I guess the main disclaimer is that that thing that comes up before films that are based on true stories or books that are based on real people, that not everything is attached to a real person. It's using fictional names and blah, blah, blah. And some people take it as it is and take it too far. That's kind of what it's about.
Now, looking at your letterboxd, next up you saw Maria. What
Yeah.
is that about? Or if you can't say, how was it?
I think I can say, like, I've seen reviews for every film, and then I haven't seen anyone talk about disclaimer, so I just wasn't sure if that was something else. I just want to mention that I didn't see that much compared to last year, and one of the reasons is that disclaimer was about 6 hours of my time, and I was also distracted by other things I'm not going to comment on publicly. And also, it is very tiring being at a film festival, and it was really hot. It was 30 plus degrees every day. I was also on holiday, and I wanted to sleep in. Okay, don't
It's
judge me,
hard work,
please.
isn't it? It's
It
hard
is
work being
hard
at film
work. It's
festivals.
super hard work.
30 degrees, Venice. Oh, my heart bleeds for you, honestly. It's
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough.
and getting the boat everywhere every day. Oh, all right. Anyway, yeah, like Jack said, next thing I saw was Maria by Pablo Larraín, the director who made Spencer and Jackie, who are other biopics about women in history. And this one is also a biopic about a woman in history. And it's about opera singer Maria Callas. Actually, I thought it was a Spanish name, but apparently it's Greek, so it's not Callas, it's Callas. So Maria Callas, and it was about her last days, and it has flashbacks to her when she was starting out and younger, and also talking to John F. Kennedy for some reason. Um, Very strange one. It seems like he appears in every one of this guy's films, but anyway, he has a problem with Kennedy apparently. Okay, main thing that we have to talk about is Angelina Jolie. She's back. She looked incredible. Her back tattoos are very cool. And I have to admit that she's very good as Maria Callas. She's an amazing job. She's probably coming for an Oscar nomination, maybe even a win. I would not be surprised. I gave this 3 stars. Now, I gave it 3 stars because I don't like biopics. I just don't. I rarely watch them. They're not for me. I'm not really interested in opera, so it was kind of to be predicted that I wouldn't love it. It did try some interesting things, like some kind of things that maybe make it divert from just your basic paint by numbers biopic that you can read on Wikipedia. But it just didn't interest me too much, other than Angelina's performance, which carried and will, like I said, probably receive a nomination for many awards, and deservedly so. I'm not gonna lie, like I had a bit of a problem with the screenplay. I couldn't tell you a single line. Like I cannot remember a single thing that they said. I cannot remember much about her except that she took a lot of pills as she met John F. Kennedy, and her husband was awful.
Only the important
Um,
stuff then.
yeah,
The three founding pillars of this woman's life.
yeah, I'm sure that her family would be very happy about her life being described in this way. But yeah, the director has made biopics before. Like I said, I haven't seen them because, like, you know, I'm usually not interested in things like this. Cody Smith McPhee is also in this film, by the way. He's in a supporting role, and he was also in Disclaimer, like I said. So shout out to him for choosing some really good jobs. Shout out to his agent. Like I said, he was in Power of the Dog. Go watch that. I gave that 5 stars, I think, or 4.5. So that's a lot better than Maria. But if you want to see a brilliant Angelina Jolie, possibly Oscar nominated performance, then go see it when it comes out on Netflix, because it will be out on Netflix, which is a shame because that means it won't be in cinemas ever. And I do think that a performance like this kind of powerhouse performance, deserves to be seen at a cinema, but it'll go to Netflix. No one will watch it. It will get an Oscar nomination, and we'll move on. Hopefully, Angelina keeps making films, though. I love you.
Now, next up is a film we chatted a little bit about what 3 weeks ago now. Nicole Kidman, Harris Dickinson, Antonio Banderas star in Baby Girl, which you may or may not have rated very highly.
Yes, absolutely. This is probably my favorite thing I saw, and I knew it was going to be my favorite. I talked about it so much. Baby Girl. I gave it 4.5 stars. Actually, I think I rated it higher than most people did, which doesn't happen often. it's it was just made for me, basically. It's one of those films that is like a Yorgos film. It's made for me. I know I'm gonna like it. I loved it. It was directed by Helena Rain. It stars Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson and Antonio Banderas, who I didn't know had such a big role. It's such a brilliant trio of performances, with Nicole Kidman the standout. I would be incredibly surprised if this film got any love from any awards show, because it is a very specific kind of film. My friend that I went with didn't like it. He gave it 3 stars. So it might just be a me thing. It's about an affair between a CEO and an intern. It's it's a kind of erotic drama slash comedy, and I'm going to emphasize the comedy because you will not expect that it is comedic, because it doesn't seem comedic from trailers or from pictures, but it's much more funny than you would expect. Some parts are really great. It kind of goes against the serious, like, unrealistic depiction of this kind of dynamic in films like, 50 Shades of Grey and like some other rubbish that I will not watch. It's hot when it needs to be. The chemistry is there. It's funny when it's meant to be. The script is tight. I liked it a lot. There are a lot of lines that the press laughed at, which is big. Um, it's not predictable. It's a lot of fun, and I recommend it if you have similar film taste to me. Unfortunately, it's a shame that it's being distributed by A24, so it'll probably be released in the UK in like 3 years.
We'll never see that film ever. It's just lost to time.
Yeah, but when it does get eventually maybe released somewhere in the UK, go watch it. It's a lot of fun. It's not as it's not as dramatic as you expect it to be. Trust me. Like it's really more of a dissection of this kind of film and a realistic view of kind of what stuff in, I want to say, like, fan fictions is like. Where it's like, oh, power play, and like he's like this and she's like this and she does this and then they do this, and it's like, if this
Are
was
you
real
familiar with
life.
those fan fiction?
No, I'm not. I don't read stuff like that. Okay, and I don't
Whatever
watch
you
things
say,
like.
whatever you say.
But what I'm saying is, it's a complete kind of dissection of that. It shows it in a way that is like realistic, and that makes it funny because these things that you read on paper would not go like that in real life, and this goes in that way. I don't know. Like, I'm trying not to spoil. Anyway, let's move on. I'm gonna move on without an intro from Jack, just because
Wow, stealing my thunder.
Yeah, sorry, but like these films don't deserve introductions. So the other three films I saw were all boring. They were all rubbish. I just went to random screenings at the end because I wanted to sit in some air conditioning, basically. I'm gonna run through them now. I'm not gonna mention the directors or actors because they probably don't want to be associated with my reviews. And I will spoil them because they won't be released anywhere. No one will watch them. No one is
Can you
going to
not get the
distribute
podcast
this.
sued, please? Don't get us sued. We
It's
know.
not.
I quite like doing
Listen,
this podcast.
it's fine. We won't get sued because this shit won't go anywhere. Like, trust me. Right, first one is a Hungarian film called January 2nd. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little bit dumb, and I thought this was going to be about January 6th because I forgot what day that was on. And I was
Yeah, that's
disappointed it
that was
wasn't
an
that.
open goal, wasn't it? That title. You've somehow you turn into Darwin Nunez, and
Yeah.
you've just missed a sir.
Well, I saw January, and I was like, oh yeah, this will be funny. No. The film is now. I'm going to tell you what this film is about, Jack, and you tell me if you will watch this film. Okay.
Okay, I'll be honest. I won't lie either. I'll be
Just
truthful.
listen to my description of what this film is about, and then tell me if you would be interested. So this film is about a woman who got divorced from her husband, and she's moving out. Her friend, who has a car, helps her move out her stuff to a new apartment. They go back and forth between the old and the new place 7 times, taking things. And that's basically it. Nothing interesting happens during these trips. Would you watch this film?
It sounds like I know maybe I've not watched many of his films. It sounds like a really boring Noah Baumbach film, and Noah Baumbach films aren't brilliant. A lot of them are kind of average, and that just sounds incredibly dull. Incredibly dull.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say nothing happens. There's this weird thing they do that I had a problem with. And it's maybe because I didn't have my glasses on. But I noticed that whenever they're showing the car journey conversations, and the shot is just showing one of the women, they do this weird thing where they make a cut while she's speaking. And it looks bad. Like, it looks like it skipped a frame, because it's not even like it's trying to show that time's gone by, because they do it as she's speaking. So it looks like a mistake every time, and it just keeps happening. And so it's
What does it cut
intentional.
to?
It doesn't cut to anything. It just like skips a frame.
That's weird. Especially when like
Is
if the film was
Yeah,
like maybe showed like their descent into madness or they became drunk because they were doing it because they were trying to relieve their frustration, then you kind of go, ah, right, that maybe that makes sense contextually, but seemingly they either is just poorly edited or someone went, this will work, and it
I
just
think it's an
hasn't.
editing problem. I remember last year I watched something like a bigger film, and I cannot remember what it was, but the editing, like, it was so choppy. Like, some parts of it, and I obviously, these people probably go back and fix this stuff, I'm guessing, because surely someone would have seen it. But there's some stuff that you see, it's like, how did you have so many people watch this film so many times and check for this stuff, and you still have editing issues? Like, whatever. Editors, listen, the editors need to be paid more so that they stop making mistakes, basically. Go pay your editors more. What else can I say about this film? Oh yeah, I thought it was gonna be gay because the woman who drives the car is very gay coded. She's dressed in a gay
Gay
way,
in a
but
positive
then,
sense, not in a
well,
not
there is no
slurring them
negative
out.
sense.
Well,
Jack.
I've been in playgrounds when I was at that age. I should clarify. I didn't just rock up to school playgrounds, and back in the day, there was some horrible things thrown around.
Right. Well, I would never say it in that way. I just thought the women were gonna be gay, okay? Because the husband looks at the friend in a really like serious, weird way, and then I was like, wait a minute, she's wearing clothes that are gay coded. What is going on here?
They could have turned it into like actually she's not just pissed off with the marriage, she's breaking away so she can run away with her friend, and then
Exactly.
it could have been a really inspirational
And
story
that
of
would have been
breaking away from
interesting,
the bonds of an
especially
abusive
because,
relationship.
it's Hungarian and they have issues with things like that. It would be like, wow, they're really standing up to these views and things, and they're really trying to say something through this film. Wow, I'm so impressed. But then that never happened. They both had men, so it didn't even give us this interesting angle that would have made me forgive some parts of the film and maybe given it 1 star instead of half a star, which is what I gave. It ends with the friend with the car going to a protest in the city centre, and this is where you think, oh, maybe it has something political to say. The protest is just people standing around. There's no signs. It doesn't tell you what they're protesting, why they're there. They just stand there and sing the Hungarian national anthem. And then she goes to a table tennis club for old people. And then she sees her boyfriend through the window, ignoring her phone call. And then the film ends.
That sounds dull, and you can enjoy that
It
when it
was
gets
just the
released.
worst. It will not get
That's
released.
that's January 2nd. Someone's going to see it one day, and you can
No, they're not.
enjoy the mundanity of it's a slice of life film, clearly.
No one is ever going to watch that film. I'm telling you that right now. Speaking of films that no one will ever watch, the next film was a French film called The Mohican.
Could you do the accent, please?
Le Mohican.
Le Mohican.
Okay, can we move on now? Anyway, this film was a little bit more interesting. I gave it 1 star. Oh, yeah, 1 star. One whole star. And it was about a goat herder in Corsica who gets an offer to sell his land to a developer who is like involved with the mafia or something. He doesn't want to sell the land. It was, I think the offer was 300,000 euros, and he said no. So then they tried to kill him, and then he kills the guy, the developer guy, instead. And then he goes on the run from the mafia and the authorities. And while he's on the run, his niece looks after the goats, and she creates a social media movement to tell the truth about what happened. And then loads of like Corsica locals join this movement, and then they help him out throughout his journey of running away from the mafia. He kills a guy with a pickaxe. There's a protest in a French film, surprise, surprise. Then at the end, he's like still running away, and there's no real ending. And I gave it 1 star because it's not like the worst thing of all time. It's not as boring as the like some other films I give it half a star at festivals. Like it's just kind of bad, but there's like some interesting stuff that happens, like when he kills the guy with a pickaxe, or like some of the scenes where he's running away are quite nicely shot. But that's kind of it, really. I mean, is this like you'd be more interested in watching this one than the last one, right, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no bones about it. That sounds. I mean, it's not really my thing, but like that sounds far more interesting than. And it's got like a good concept as well. Like I like the idea of it, even if the execution's a little off. It's got a bit of something by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Well, a film that doesn't have anything is the last film I'm going to talk about. It's an Italian film. It's called My Birthday. And I just want to say one thing before I get into what the film is about. I hate when people think that good acting is just shouting and screaming because it is so annoying, and it's the easiest kind of acting to do, but it's also easy to overdo it. And here it's overdone. I mean, I'm guessing it's because the actors aren't too experienced, or especially the main character, who I don't know who he's played by, but that guy, God, he's just screaming the whole time, and I bet he thinks it's like the greatest performance he's given.
So for me, when actors are constantly shouting, it loses all meaning because that's just your baseline. Whereas really, if you want to have impactful, shouty acting, you have to kind of be a bit more subdued and then ramp it up. But yeah, I agree. I think one great performance I love is Philip Seymour Hoffman in Punch Drunk Love, funnily enough, and he does a lot of shouting in that film. But there's also moments where he's quieter and he's quite like not scary, but like threatening. And I think you've really got to blend quiet and loud. Otherwise, if you're always quiet or always loud, it's just that's your baseline. There's no up or down, which is frustrating.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And with a film like this, it's like he's the main character, so you follow him throughout the whole thing. He starts off being shouty, screaming, and unlikable. He's like that the whole time, even when it's unnecessary. And then, like, suddenly at the end, you're meant to feel bad for him. And it's like, you haven't done the groundwork for us to feel bad about a character who's been like this the whole film. You know, it's like it just doesn't work. It didn't work. I can't believe these films get funded. Like, there's so many things wrong with them. All right. Anyway, what is it about? It's about a 17-year-old kid who lives in a home for like orphans in Italy. His mother is in like a mental hospital, and he's desperate to live with her. Like, he wants to leave and live with her because he thinks that that's what should happen, which is very immature. But he's obviously 17, so whatever. Um, and it's really hard to feel bad for him, even with the situation he's in, because, like I said, he's uncooperative with anyone that tries to help him. He's a dickhead to absolutely every single person the whole time. There's two scenes where he just starts dancing for no reason. Like, whatever. Um, he then like runs away from the home the day before his court hearing, and he steals the car of the nice woman who was trying to help him the whole time. And then he breaks his mother out of the hospital, and then they live together in this car by like stealing. Uh, and he realizes at the end that what he did was stupid, and he eventually calls the woman who he stole the car from to help him and save him. And it ends with him leaving the home, and because he's 18, he has to leave, and that was like the end of the film. But there's no, like, you're trying to show growth, and then you think that it's going to be a sad ending, and everyone's be like, oh my god, like, he's changed. It's like, first of all, the film's boring. Second of all, your character's unlikable the whole time. The actor's trying way too hard with all this shouty, aggressive stuff the whole film. And he just becomes annoying, so you don't care about him. It's like, I just don't get it. Like, it's half star. I'd give it low if I could, but you can't, so. Yeah, it's just like one of those films where I don't have anything to say. The acting I didn't like, and everything else I didn't like either.
Wow.
But, you know, just to finish this bit about Venice, I want to say quick that I could have watched a few more films like The Order or Wolves or the new Beetlejuice, because they were also on at the time that I was there. But honestly, they looked kind of mid, and the reaction to those three has not been that good, so I do not regret not going. Last year, I watched loads of films. I met random people. I got a picture of Damien Chazelle, and I barely got any sleep, and it honestly was not worth it, because when you go there, most films are kind of rubbish. And I'm glad that I went to see the three things I was most interested in while I was there, and then I could actually just enjoy Venice the rest of the time. I'll probably go back next year with hopefully a better lineup. Last year was incredible because you had a new Yorgos film, new Sofia Coppola, new Bertrand Bonello film with Leia Seydoux, new Michael Mann, new David Fincher, new Richard Linklater, new Hamaguchi, Aggro Drift, a Polish film, another Polish film. Like, it was just stacked, and it was all in the first few days. And I don't think there'll be a lineup that good again. So that's kind of why I went crazy last year. Next year, like I said, I'll probably try and come back, but I might even do the whole festival just so I don't end up missing the later films. They used to put the best films at the beginning and then put the rest towards the end, which is why I only booked the first few days. But this year they changed it up, and they've spread the good films throughout the whole thing, which is why there wasn't that much I was interested in. So yeah, next year I'll probably try and do the whole thing and just split it up into one or two films a day, like I did this year, but over a longer period of time. So I recommend that for anyone who's going next year. Remember that it's not the same as always. They have spread everything up now. I would have liked to have seen The Room Next Door, The Brutalist, and Joker 2, but I also couldn't have that many days off, so I need to get back to work now. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I love going there. Yeah, that was my roundup of what I saw.
Yeah, I hope to go to Venice at some point. So potentially next year, potentially another time. Who knows? I in a rare twist of fate, Veronica actually watched more films in a week than me. I saw five. I'm a bit under the weather, so a bit inconsistent, and then I like to laugh when I'm ill. So I watch a couple of comedies. I watched nothing bad, which is good. Saw one decent film, which was White Chicks, which I guess is a cinematic blind spot. Just never watched it. 3 out of 5. Terry Crews very good. Um, some of it's funny, some of it wasn't. Those like late 90s, early 2000s comedies are so hit and miss for me. Sometimes I really enjoy them. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, it's decent. Moving on to the good, I watched Wedding Crashers, the theatrical edition. Despite I also own the was it Uncorked, which has got like 8 minutes of extras. I've not seen this yet, by the way. It's a first time watch. I thought I'd just watch theatrical because I didn't want to watch a long film. Funny, first half was great. Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, two of my favourite ever comedic actors, especially Owen Wilson. Really good. I thought Christopher Walken was great. I always forget just how funny Christopher Walken is. Rachel McAdams is in it, really good. Bradley Cooper's in it, really good. There's a cameo in the third act that caught me so off guard. Yeah, just really good film. Very funny. Next up, I saw The Sting, starring Paul Newman, Robert Redford, and Robert Shaw. It's about two con men trying to rip off a mobster, like a rich guy. I can't remember. I think it's a mobster. Came out during the 70s when kind of Redford and Newman were like just the in thing. If you look at like Butch Cassidy, for example, Robert Redford, very handsome man. Paul Newman has got lovely eyes. I give this a 4 out of 5. Very funny, very clever. The ending was perfect because you kind of go, "Oh no, why has that character done that?" And then it's flip reverse, and it's like, "Oh no, it's actually been a different thing the entire time." I'm trying to spoil it. And going into great, I saw two. These are very rare. I saw two 5 out of 5 films back to back in the same day. I don't give out fives too often, because I think they should be valued. First I saw Silence of the Lambs, which was another blind spot of mine. I bought it about a month ago on Blu-ray, but I've only just seen it. 5 out of 5. Just incredibly creepy, really well acted, really well shot and directed. There was like quite a few like first person shots, to kind of give a sense of dread. Really good. And I also watched Training Day with Ethan Hawke, Denzel Washington. Um, I think those are the big two. Um, I love films normally set in LA that are kind of just two guys. It's always a crime film. Two guys just driving around in a car, basically. Think End of Watch, Collateral, and Training Day. Basically, it's Ethan Hawke's first day as like an undercover cop, I believe, or like a narc, and Denzel Washington's an unorthodox cop, and yeah, just really Denzel Washington. Fuck me, I've not seen many Denzel films, but he is just unbelievable. Ethan Hawke's one of my favorites as well, so I really enjoyed that. But yeah, that's it. I had a pretty good week of films. Kind of away from the past now and into the future. Veronica, do you have any cinema trips lined up?
Yes, a very exciting one. Maybe better than Venice Film Festival. I am going to watch Tommy Wiseau's new film called Big Shark this Saturday. There is a meet and greet before the film. I cannot wait. This man is crazy. I might also book something else this weekend, but I'm not sure what yet. Maybe Blink Twice or something that will come out soon. I haven't decided, but I'll probably go watch a few films this weekend.
Yeah, I have no tickets booked, but there is an opportunity for a couple of trips coming up. There's a chance I'll see Beetlejuice in about a week's time. So we're recording this part on Tuesday, so maybe next Tuesday or so. And then in about 10 days, so I'm kind of cheating with this one. So number 6 cinema in Portsmouth, I've ranted and raved about just how good it is as a local independent cinema. They are back for after the summer, and they have got so many good films coming up, including they're showing Chinatown, which I've never seen but I really want to. So I might book tickets to see that. They're also in about 3 weeks. They're showing Doctor Strangelove, which is an impeccable film, which I'll also probably definitely see. I was going to go rewatch Trap this weekend, but I'm going to the Stug and Lettuce, so I can't, because cocktails take precedence over these things. Now, on to this week's physical media update. Did you get any goodies at Venice, or am I going to have to ride solo and carry the physical media update this week?
Well, when you get accreditation, you do get given a few things. You get a tote bag every year. Last year was grey. This year it's yellow. So I have a new tote bag. You get a book of the program, every film that's being shown. You also get a nice little lanyard. So I like to keep all of those as memories. Yeah, put them away in a nice little safe space.
I look, CX. It's still quite shit, but they are winning me round because of how cheap everything is, and it's very convenient because it's downtown. I got two films. I got Wedding Crashers, as I mentioned earlier, on Blu-ray not on Blu-ray, so on DVD for a quid. Bargain, why not? And I also brought one of the only Tarantino films I've not seen, which is The Hateful Eight, on Blu-ray for about £3, I want to say. So not a huge, not a huge update, but it's more films for the collection. And now for the next segment, it's that time of the week. It is the recent film news roundup. I'm going to go first, and then Veronica has got a few bits for us as well. Let's go. Part number one. Knives Out 3, I believe it's titled Wake Up Dead Man, has a budget of 210 million, which is big, and I'm not sure why it's so high. David Fincher, on a Netflix thing, is working on a new film for Netflix. Josh Brolin was offered the role of Hal Jordan for an upcoming Lantern series. If you don't know who Hal Jordan is, he's one of the Green Lanterns. So, I love Josh Brolin. I'm not sure this is the part for him, but we will see. Sylvester Stallone is writing a Rocky prequel. I love the Rocky films. I like Stallone. Not sure how I feel about this one. We will see. He'll probably end up directing it as well if it ever actually happens. And my last bit of news is that Ian McKellen has been asked to return as Gandalf in the new Lord of the Rings film. I believe it's called something like The Hunt for Gollum. Make this happen. Pay Ian what he wants. Ian is a good man. He was in that episode of Extras and was unbelievable. Veronica, what have you got for us in terms of recent film news?
Yeah, so I have my kind of alternative film news. It's like the New Year's broadcast, on BBC. You have the fireworks and the Queen. Sorry, wait, no, you don't have the Queen anymore.
Not anymore. No.
Oopsie.
Rest in peace.
Well, you have someone serious, the fireworks, and then like Robbie Williams singing. But on Channel 4, you have the alternative broadcast where you just have
Who's Jules
chaos.
Holland in this scenario? Am I Jules
I
Holland?
have.
The
I
Hootenanny.
don't know. Actually, the guest, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, it's my alternative film news. First bit of film news. The director of the film of the best soundtrack of all time, Drive, Nicholas Winding Refn, is working on his next film, which will be set in Japan. And he said it will have lots of glitter, sex, and violence. Sign
Only
me
God
up.
Forgives was really quite terrible. So hopefully it is set level with Drive and not with Only God Forgives.
I really want to get a vinyl of the Drive soundtrack and the Blu-ray and the jacket. So if anyone wants to send me any of those, feel free. Next bit news. Actually, when I was in Venice, I saw Sydney Sweeney. She was on a boat
How did
near
you leave that
mine.
out?
Well, I was saving it for film news. It's news. uh, that's kind of it. Like, I was on a boat going towards the festival. She was on a boat leaving the festival, and I just saw her on the boat. Yeah, that was it. She looks just as good in person. And my last bit of film news is that Glenn Powell was in attendance at a University of Texas American football game recently, and he looked really good. That's my news.
I'd agree with that one. Now, normally in the first segment, I host the game, but because it's the film segment, Veronica, you've got a game for me and the listeners at home. What game are we playing this week, and will I end up crying?
You won't end up crying because it's your favorite game. It's
Crying with
the
joy.
film game. Guess the average rating and guess your rating of the film that I say. Simple as. Let's go. First film, Kinds of Kindness. What's the average rating on Letterboxd?
Are you keeping notes for this in terms of the score, or do I have to write them down?
You have to write it down.
Okay, let me grab my whiteboard then. I think the average rating is 3.4.
Oh, you got it bang on.
Did
3.4.
I?
Yeah, 2
Yes.
points. I'll give you 2 points because you got it perfect.
Wow, that's
And what did you
thank you,
give
very
it?
generous. I give it a 4.
Yeah, you did. Okay, +1.
Oh, on Disney Plus now if you want to watch it.
Yes, go watch it. Go watch the whole Yorgos modern trilogy on Disney Plus. They are all on Disney Plus. All 3 new Yorgos films. We are not sponsored by Disney ever. Next film is Citizen Kane. What's the average?
I reckon the average is 4.2.
You got it bang on again. It's
Oh my god,
4.2.
this is generational.
2 extra points. And what did you give it?
I give it a 3.5.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my god, we're actually cooking.
You got it. You gave it lower than its average rating. Do you want
Yeah,
to
because it's kind
speak
of
about
boring.
that? Oh,
Well, yeah, okay, quickly, yeah, it's very impressive technically, like just like unbelievable. In terms of the way it's edited and shot. I didn't resonate with the story as much. But I think I was also like not in a really like I wasn't in the mood to watch it, if that makes sense. So I think, but I think a 3.5 is fair. It's nothing will ever take away from just how technologically astounding it is. But the plot just it didn't massively work for me at all times.
on the topic of Citizen Kane, by the way, I just want to mention that Mank is the worst David Fincher film of all time, and it took away from David Fincher working on Mindhunter, and I blame his father for wanting this film made. And it
I didn't realize
ruined
you were another.
David Fincher's career.
It did. I didn't realize you were a fellow David Fincher. Sorry, a fellow Mindhunter head.
That's
Fucking love
one of my
Mindhunter.
favorite shows of all time.
It's season 2. Oh, unbelievable.
The
I'm
fact
I'm
that
so sad.
they ruined Mindhunter. Ah, I hate you, Netflix, and I hate you, David Fincher. Well, let's move on. Next film, The Breakfast Club. What's the average?
3.8.
Okay, you're cheating. It's
I'm not.
3.8.
Yes.
You got
Oh
it.
my god,
How?
this is
Nah, you have to be
unbelievable.
cheating. There's no way.
I'm not. Do you want me to cover my eyes?
No,
How
it's
can I cover
fine.
my
Okay,
eyes?
what did you give it?
I'll give it a 4.
Yeah. Okay, for 2 bonus points, what did I give it?
Um, 1.5.
I gave it a 0.5.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a lot of that film has not aged well.
Yeah.
And if you think that's bad, and some of the scenes towards the end, don't watch 16 Candles because that is the worst parts of Breakfast Club. That certain scene at the end. Um, that is basically all 16 Candles is. I believe it's called 16 Candles.
Listen,
Um,
I
yeah,
just hated The
problematic.
Breakfast Club because I, it's like, I just think it's rubbish.
That's
I
fair.
think it's aged badly. I think I just didn't like any of it. I think it's crazy that some people have it as one of their favorite films of all time. How is that one of your favorite films of all time? You must have had some problems when you were at school if that is one of your favorite films of all time, or you watched it when you were 12 and you have not watched it since, or you watch it blind and deaf because it's rubbish. Anyway, next film is Monsters Inc. What's the average? This is
That was a really
surprising.
hard one. Um, I'm gonna play it safe-ish and go 3.5.
You you not
Oh, I
guess
got
what
it
it like?
again.
No,
Oh,
it's
oh shit!
this
Just lost
like
my mind.
I was so shocked that it's this high. It's 4.1.
I mean, it's a good film,
4.1.
but
Yeah, but do you know the films that have a lower than average of 4.1?
kinds of
They're
kindness for a
so
start.
much better than Monsters Inc.
Traps on a 2.9, 2.8.
Yeah,
I'm so
people
angry
are
with
just
that.
insane. Right, what did you give it? What did you give Monsters Inc?
Oh, this would have been one of the ones I backdated. I backdate most of my letterboxed films. 3.
3.5.
Oh, Missed
Yeah.
completely on that one. It's fair. I think that's fair.
See, like when it's films that I saw when I was younger, I just say that I've watched them. I don't add a rating because
Yeah, that's what I should have done.
it's like, what's the point? You know,
That's
I'll
fair.
just I'm not gonna know what I would have rated it when I was 10, and
I
it's
think the issue with me
probably
is that
blinded by
when
nostalgia.
I first got Letterboxd, I backdated them, and then I'm like, I'm in too deep now, so I may as well just backdate all of them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't give backdated ones ratings anymore. I just click scene because it's, as you say, it's how can you know what your score was back then?
Okay, last one. American Pie, the first one. What's the average?
3.6.
Three
That's
point
too high.
one.
Yeah,
3.1. I mean, it's. I feel like comedies like that get
these
rated
kind of
low.
raunchy coming
Even,
of age.
but the thing is, even if people love them, they won't rate them high because of the content, because of what it is. Like, I
Yeah.
loved American Pie, but I'm not gonna rate it higher than a.
Do you
You
know
know.
American Pie actually invented the word MILF?
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, this would be
Um,
another one I backdated, so I've no idea what I maybe gave it a 3.
3.5 is what you gave
Okay,
it.
yeah, sensing a theme
I
here.
rewatched
Um,
all of the American Pie films last year or at the beginning of this year, and I had so much fun. Like, rewatching films like that now is so much fun to do with
it's the
other
most
people.
underrated one.
Oh my god, that's so hard. I think the one I rated highest was maybe the second one.
I really enjoyed the second one. I watched them when I was like, I don't know, like year 8, maybe year 9. And yeah, the second one was really good. So the
Yeah,
first one's really good as well.
I gave the second one 3.5 instead of 3, which is what I gave the first one. So yeah, the second one is the best one. Wait, who's your favorite of the friend group?
I literally can't remember.
What did he look
I
like?
actually no, I liked because I like his kind of. I'm a sucker for when a sportsman turns romantic. It's the guy who played lacrosse and became a singer. I liked him from what I remember.
Stop! That's my favorite. That's my favorite
Yeah,
guy. Oh,
well,
okay. Well,
yeah,
we
we have
agree
to
on
fight over
something.
him now.
That's my favorite guy from American
I,
Pie.
I liked obviously like he was a dick, but Stifler was such a good character. And I can't remember the actor's name. He's obviously really like not famous, but like
Jason
a well known.
Biggs.
I can't remember his
That's
name.
the
I don't
guy
think
who
it's
plays the
Jason.
main one.
I was thinking who plays Stifler?
Oh,
Sean William Scott. Yeah, I liked. Yeah. Anyway,
all right. Let's move on. That's it. That's the game.
now before you hear our brilliant chat with Tom Wilson, if you're enjoying this episode, we'd love it if you leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify. It will do us the world of good, and we will owe you a pint forever. So if you show me at the football or whatever that you've rated the podcast 5 stars, you are going to get brought a drink. But until then, enjoy our chat with Tom Wilson. Tom, welcome to the show. How are you, mate? You're right.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm really, really sore because I walked the Seven Hills of Edinburgh yesterday, and I think I've taken this entire day to recover, and I still haven't. But other than that, I'm doing great. Yeah, had a good summer. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Is there as many as 7? Exactly 7. There's not more or less, no.
Well, so I've moved here. I graduated from uni in St Andrews in June, and I moved to Edinburgh for my masters about a month ago. And one of my someone was telling me, "Oh, you got to do the Seven Hills. Like you got to do it." I did them all, and I found out that actually it's a bit of a lie. There's one of them that has an east and a west summit, and they really are just two different hills. So it technically should be 8, but yeah. So did one of them, so I counted as 7. So I did 7 hills. Technically didn't do the other summit, but who cares?
You mentioned there that you've recently moved to Edinburgh. I want to go further back in your journey, into your life. Who do you support? The whatever mighty football club you support, and what are your first kind of memories of footballing, heartbreak or anger connected to either football or that football club?
Yeah, so I've supported. I'm an international kid. My mum's from Belgium, my dad's from England. I've lived in neither. I grew up in different places around the world, and like every international kid, I support Manchester United, um, which I've done since I'm 9. And I remember I was gonna say I was going to originally say kind of classic because my first season was 2011, 2012. So that's the Aguero season, the Man City winning the league. And I was going to originally say that. But there's a game a bit before that, which was, I believe, against Everton, that United drew 4-4 with. And it was like we were doing really well. I believe that was that game. It could have been a different one. Because there was also a game against Blackburn, I remember we threw. But that was one of those two games. I just remember going to bed as a 9-year-old kid just angry. And I'd never felt that way before about a football team. So I just started supporting United. Um, so that's really the first moment I remember. It obviously started going much more downhill since regarding United. So I've kind of gotten used to it. But yeah, that was really the first one.
Speaking of going downhill, I'm sorry that I have to do this to you, but do you have any thoughts on Man United's start to this season? Um, Anything you want to say? Anything you want to at Ten Hag with right here in public?
Yeah, I'm kind of like I knew you were going to ask me this, especially since you're a Liverpool fan, Veronica. But I don't. I kind of wavering between having a lot to say and just being numb at this point. Um, there's like it feels like it's more of the same. We had this whole summer, we got the whole new team, and obviously transition takes time. But you kind of would hope that the football would change because obviously the football last season was dire. I am, I am very pro Ten Hag, and I still am for now. But it's just becoming my problem is just that it's constantly the same issues. It's constantly the same. There's not enough passion from the team. Tactically, we're not sound. I'm kind of hoping that things will hit their stride once you have like Rasmus Højlund coming back in. When we'll have Lenny Yoro will be fully fit and actually ready to play for us. Obviously, there's a lot of new signings. Ugarte is going to be coming and starting soon. But yeah, at this point, with the start of United's season, just more of the same, and it's just getting really annoying.
Now, I have a mystery question for you, and it is related to football, but it's not gonna be specifically related to Manchester United's current form. So that's a good thing. My mystery question for you this week is if you had to go on a road trip from London to Edinburgh, you had to pick someone to drive and someone to be in the passenger seat in charge of the aux. Named two footballers that you would have do those jobs.
Ooh, okay. So one driving and then one passenger, but in charge of the yoke.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. I think in charge of the Orcs. Now he doesn't have my style of music, but I've heard so many from like the United players about his style of music that I put David De Gea. He's a big like rock and metal fan, and I'm not the biggest metal fan, but and I would probably be like more in line of like people like Marcus Rashford and others, kind of a bit more like. I mean, I listen to a lot of different types of music, so like I am very varied in that regard, but it seems like footballers all have to listen to the same style of music, and I like people that branch out a little bit. So I would want De Gea there just because I feel like he provides something different. It might not be exactly my style of music, but it'll be something different for the car ride. And I feel like just because of that, he'd be a good passenger to have. And then driving, mostly because I want to talk to him a lot, is Juan Mata. I just want to chat to him. And I don't know. I would have put him as passenger, but I don't know his style of music. But I'm my dad and I are just huge Juan Mata fans, just as a person. He's some guy like I just love to meet one day and talk to.
Lovely man is Juan Mata. Apparently, there's a lot of charity work, I believe. So I like those choices. I didn't see David De Gea coming. I'll be honest, but I respect it. I want to stick with your childhood. Maybe not about April 2012 when United drew 4-4 with Everton, but more in terms of film. What were some of your kind of early film memories as a kid? Whether that's a film you had on repeat loads, or an early trip to the cinema with a family member, or whatever.
Yeah, I was struggling to answer that question mostly because like there's a few things that came to mind. I kind of realized so at St Andrews we have these things called academic kids, which are when you're like a third or fourth year, you adopt a first year, adopt a fresher, and you well actually a number of them, and they become part of your academic family, and you have this big weekend, raisin weekend, where you'll kind of like hang out, get drunk, party, good time. and I was asking someone, some of my VHS, and about two of them had no idea what VHS was. Um, and that was like kind of like, so I questioned it, really brought me back to that, because that's one of my first memories, is just having kind of my mum coming back from Blockbuster or other like rental movie places and coming back with a big VHS box. I remember probably the first VHS I remember watching would be Shrek 2. But the one I had on repeat, which was a DVD, was Thomas and the Magic Railroad, because I was a huge Thomas the Tank Engine fan. And then yes, that was like on repeat constantly, and that's got like a really low rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I found out very recently, which it shouldn't. It's a brilliant movie. And then lastly, I remember going with my grand. So I'm French speaking Belgian, and I lived in France for my early childhood. And this, I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's called Arthur and the Minimoys, or Arthur et les Minimoys is what it's called in French. And it was this big movie that came out. Um, I think it's originally. I don't think it's originally French. I'm not sure, but it's kind of like animated. It's got like these little. This like kid becomes one of these like weird little creatures in the ground, and I remember that being a big thing in my school. And I remember going there to watch it with my gran, but I was like 4, and that's my first ever memory of going to the cinema.
I remember that film. I actually do. I remember watching it in Polish, and it was really It's kind of a little bit creepy, to be
It's
honest. But
terrifying. It's
yeah, it
absolutely
is a little
terrifying.
scary. um, but yeah, moving on to things that may be terrifying for others, but you absolutely love, which is improv comedy. How was your experience at the Edinburgh Fringe? Tell us a little bit about your group, how you guys did, how you enjoyed it, etc.
Do you want to hear about my whole Fringe experience, or just the improv bit? Because I did another show as well this year.
We'll take the lot,
Sure.
mate. We'll take
Yeah, we'll
everything.
take everything.
Yeah. So Fringe was different for me this year. For two reasons. One, for the first time in about 5 years, I was part of a play. Uh, my flatmate's girlfriend directed it, and then some other friends that we know produced it. So it was kind of student written, and I went into it. It's played about fan fiction. I know nothing about fan fiction, and I played this frat boy, and I actually had a really really good time. It was really good fun. Didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but the people were absolutely fantastic. So that was kind of the first half of my run. So I did about 2 weeks of rehearsals in St Andrews. Then went off to Edinburgh. Luckily, had already had my flat there to move to, and that was a lot of good fun. And then the big stuff kicked in with improv, and that was actually, so I've just left the improv group because I graduated. So that was my final 6 shows, um, and that was you know what, I've left. I can talk a bit more. That was very intense, but it was a very very good time. I I we had, I'd say, very good average attendance compared to it did last year as well. We didn't have like the same peak audience that we did in one show, but our average audience every night probably was over 35, which is not too bad at all for the Fringe. And it's a very weird time. You're kind of going 5 weeks straight in Edinburgh, and Edinburgh becomes just mayhem. Don't know if you guys have ever been, but if you know the Royal Mile, that's kind of like the main street for it, and that just is packed with people. You're flyering every day. Should be flying every day. I wasn't too good at it. And yeah, that was performing every night essentially. So the first run was nine shows straight at midday. Then we had a week to St Andrews to rehearse for improv. Then 6 shows straight at 8 p.m. And you have no idea what the crowds are going to bring you, because it's not like when I'm in St Andrews where I've got the same people that come, all the same students. I mean, St Andrews, you get about over 100, 120 people on average every Monday, but they're usually the same crowd. Sometimes you get new people, but usually the same. Whereas in Edinburgh, you have no idea who's coming. You have no idea what the crowd's going to be, what they're going to suggest. And that was, yeah, so that was ended about a week and a bit ago, 2 weeks ago. And yeah, it was intense, but it was good fun. We got 5 stars from a reviewer. Didn't maintain the best improv award. That went to another group. That went to the Uni of Edinburgh's group. But the Improverts, so congrats to them. But yeah, don't know if I'll do. I might do improv comedy again, but right now I'm kind of just taking it easy, kind of seeing what I'm doing next year. But I still want to perform. Absolutely.
Naturally, with stand up, I guess there's obviously you kind of know what you're doing. Obviously, you got you know your regular bits, and there might be a little bit of ad libbing or working off the crowd. But in terms of improv, outside of the obvious, what are some of the more unique challenges about being in an improv group that most people kind of wouldn't consider?
I'd say the biggest one, and I've done this, I counted, I did 58 shows total in my time in just under 2 years. Um, People have very different, everyone's got a different sense of humor, even if you're, a funny person in general. And I'd say one of the big things is learning to work with other people. Because when I come on stage for a game, and we have loads of different games, you have some solo games, and then we have some games like a game called Genre Swap, for example, where you have two people and the audience will shout out different film genres or TV genres that you're going to switch to. So you're doing a scene about, let's say, Jack, you and me are doing a scene about me needing to wear more deodorant. That's the object we've been given, is deodorant. And we start off the scene, but immediately we go to film noir. So you got to change to film noir. You got to change to a comedy. You got to change to romance, sci-fi, etc. It's learning very much how to play with play off your castmates. Um, some of them, this guy Freddie, he's just left as well. He just graduated from uni. I will tend to sit back because he's got a very absurdist sense of humor. He's very funny. He's very, very good. But I know that it works best when I sit back and I kind of feed him things that he can be the funny one on stage. But then that comes with time, and you'll have some scenes. Like I remember there was someone had just started back in September, and one of my friends was saying, "God, she's not very good at all." And I went, "Well, she's not only done 3 shows, but if you look back at like another scene, she was doing very well with someone else. But with me, it was a bit more difficult because we're not exactly on the same wavelength. So I would say the biggest one is working with others, and at the same time, working with audience suggestions that, especially when they don't really come to it a lot.
I want to build on that quickly. Actually, I mean, it almost reminds me of football in a way. Like, just because you might have two great footballers, this is a weird analogy. It doesn't always mean they'll play on the same wavelength, right? So, what kind of exercises or almost like training do you have to do in order to be able to feed off of others and have that really strong understanding of, okay, where is the humor in this, and do I have to play a straight man, or do I have to go a bit more absurd? What kind of things do you do to practice that?
Dude,
Wait,
you're the first person I've
can
ever heard. Have you done
can I
improv
just say
before,
one
Jack? Because
thing
wait, go ahead, Veronica.
real quick? Jack, you just mentioned like the two genders are straight and absurd. Can you expand on that?
Well, look, it's up to interpretation, I'd say. Let's let Tom do the talking because Tom is far more clever than us, and
All right,
he
okay.
raised an
Well,
interesting point there, I think.
I was actually gonna build on that. You're the first person outside of anyone I've heard in improv understand the word straight man in an improv context. Have you ever done improv before? Or
No, but like I like a lot of comedy, and it kind of, although obviously film comedy, and I've never even watched improv, but you always have to balance. Like you can't have two people, everyone being absurd, because then it almost loses the absurdity because everyone's doing the same thing. You have to have someone. Like for example, my favorite comedy show is Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's always a straight man in every episode, so it kind of balances out the absurd with someone who grounds it, and the audience can kind of have that as a point of reference almost.
yeah, no, exactly. And also, I would say don't start watching improv. It's the lowest form of comedy. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, in terms of exercises that we do, that's actually a very good question and quite timely because of our boot camp week that we had. Um, Believe it or not, improv is rehearsed. And that sounds weird because you think that's what people do on stage, spontaneous. That still is the case. It's more that the show itself is not rehearsed, but you'll do different games in rehearsal. Obviously, different suggestions that just like our producers will give, another cast member will give, and you'll perform those, and that will help you to understand how to work with others. I would definitely say that's one thing. Another one is quite literally just spending time with your castmates. Um, like for example, my former castmate Holly and I we're very good friends, but we're very, very, very different. Like we're incredibly different people, but when we're on stage, we very much know how to work with one another. because we spend so much time together. Another person that I performed with very well this Fringe is my now flatmate Mackenzie. He's my flatmate for last month in Edinburgh, but obviously we performed with each other quite a lot, and then living with each other, that also helps kind of like, well, we already knew each other, but obviously helps kind of like getting to know the other person, so you can kind of see what makes them laugh, what doesn't, and yeah, just spending time with others on stage, and then just working games as much as you can.
All right, so carrying on this little thread of improv, because it is very interesting, and I think it's great that we can kind of give it a bit of a platform to talk about. Because yeah, I think even Jack is interested, and he's usually not too interested in what people have to say on this podcast.
Yeah, it's just all about me, innit? Just a big
Yep.
I am.
Yep, he's just a massive narcissist. So do you have any examples that you can think of improvisation within film? Even if it's, let's say there's a scene with actual improv, or if it's a scene that has been improvised. I don't know if there's a film out there that has a scene of a group doing improv. Maybe there is, but in general, an improvised scene.
I'd say, I mean, there's a lot of moments in films which aren't, well, I mean, it's two parts. For me, the one that's very memorable, but I don't think that was necessarily improvised in a sense of like, okay, you two characters, you do something, and like you two actors, you improvise this scene, kind of loosely off the script. But it's you'll probably know the Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained. Is it throwing the glass on the table, or he cut his hand, but in the way that he was meant to do it, he wasn't meant to throw it as hard. But being in that character, and then obviously they kept that scene in of his hand being all bloodied up and carrying on. So obviously that's improv in a way. Another one, I can't think off the top of my head exactly names of ones, but there's a lot of different in a lot of different movies, and it will especially be comedies. They will sometimes just tell the actors, "Okay, this is a script. Do you go ahead?" And they might just start riffing off each other. And some you'll see it a lot in like bloopers. You'll see, especially TV shows, they'll do it a lot.
So one example that I've just thought of, not a comedy, weird enough, not purely improv, but one of my favourite films. It's called Blue Valentine. It's got Michelle Williams and Ryan Gosling in it, and it's about a divorce. And yeah, the director Derek Cianfrance, I believe the name is. He went to Ryan Gosling. He'd say, "Do not let her leave the room," not in a manipulative, horrible way, but in terms of like, "Don't let her do this thing." And then he'd say to Michelle Williams, "Okay, he wants, don't let him stop you leaving the room." And from there, rather than purely going off scripted dialogue, it was way more human, and they had actual aims. But yeah, I thought that was, there's a lot of space for improvisation in direction. I think maybe not as much in acting, but I think directors who can take a bit more of a back step almost, and not be as controlling. I think it can reap rewards if the actors are up to it.
That actually reminded me of another example. When I watched Sing Sing recently, I listened to the director speaking about his style of directing, and he was actually talking about the fact that he took a step back, and his style was kind of giving a script but leaving a lot open. And he talked about how Common Domingo was having a really hard time. He was already in character, and he went up to the director off set and said, "Listen, I'm having an awful time. If someone touches me, like hugs me, or is, like physically affectionate with me, I'm just going to break down on screen." And the director went to his co-star from the scene and said, "Do not let him go. Hug him and do not let him go." And then whatever happened in that scene stayed in the final cut. And it's incredible, because it just looks like natural emotion and natural feeling. And I think when that comes across, that's kind of one of the best examples you can get from improvised directing or acting. It's great. But anyway, I think we went a bit off track there. Let's get back on track. And to
We
a question
improvise,
that
some would
gets...
say.
Yes, some would say we riff off each other. And some would say Jack is the straight man. Would you want to confirm or deny?
I think yes.
Okay. Anyway, Tom, tell us what were your 3 favourite films of all time.
Got them up. It's because I've had to. I'm trying to like take one out because I've got 4. But I would say 3. Yeah. Okay. I can put it to 3. La La Land, Beginners, and Inglourious Bastards would be my top three.
I love
Yeah,
I
I
love
follow
two
La
of
La
those
Land.
so much.
Appreciate
La
it.
La Land is incredible. Inglorious Bastard is probably my
L-
favorite Tarantino.
La
Amazing.
La Land, at this fringe, we've been talking a lot. I've been talking to our people because I used to. Sandwich is a small town. A lot of people know each other, and uh, a while back, before I was dating someone, I used to be on Hinge, and my one of my things was Two Truths and a Lie, and one of them was my favorite movie is La La Land. And a lot of people that like I know that like were with me at the Fringe, like we're talking about. Oh, I remember seeing your favorite movie is La La Land. Well, like people would tell others. And speaking of, most people do not like La La Land. Like they absolutely can't stand it. And I think that's one of the most horrible takes someone can have. I think it's a
I
Most
can't
fantastic
people
movie.
stand
will.
them.
Exactly, it's the only movie that I've cried at.
I cry every
Like,
single year.
and
I
I've watched
watch
it
it every
twice.
single year. I think I've
I've
watched
watched
it
this
eight
twice
times or
since it
something.
came out. I watched it twice since it came out. One time, obviously, at cinema when it came out, 2016, I think it was, and then I
Yep.
watched it last summer, so July 2023, and yeah, cried again. To me, it's a fantastic movie.
Now, you've said there you've not watched La La Land super recently, but what is a film you have watched recently? It can be anything. I just want to know one film you've watched recently, and if you liked it, disliked it, or anything in between.
Well, I'm really bad at watching movies on my own usually, but in the last 3 days, I've watched two movies, and so the last movie I watched, which I finished last night, watched it in one sitting, which is very rare for me, was The Green Book. And or Green Book, I think it's not the Green Book because I put in my letterbox and didn't have the. But yeah, Green Book, and that was brilliant. That I really really liked it, and I always go on Reddit after watching a movie and seeing what people have said about it, like how like their thoughts on it, whether they liked it or didn't it. And there's so many things I disagreed with some of the criticism that people gave on it. Um, because I just thought they all thought it was a good movie, but I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was very, very, very good and very, very well done.
If you look past the slight historical inaccuracies, it's an entertaining film. I'll give you that. It's the vibes, apart from the racism, are pretty good.
I feel like the historical inaccuracies, and I'm something with history degree now. I completely agree with. That was one thing that did irk me when I read about it. But I tend to feel the movie was more about. My take was more the movie is more about class in a way. It's obviously about race, but especially the scenes when they're in the car together. Um, I found like the fried chicken scene to me, which I can very much understand a lot of the criticism of it. But on my first time watching it, I saw it more as like a class thing, like a very like a difference between the two characters.
I mean, there's also like the juxtaposition. I didn't think I'd talk about the Green Book for so long, but there's kind of the juxtaposition between, I can't remember what the Viggo Mortensen's character, when he first meets Doc.
Tony
Obviously,
Lip,
he's
yeah.
like, yeah, Lip. He's a white guy, but he's not the most well off. And then he goes to Doc's, and he's a black man, obviously. But he's like so rich. He's essentially got a throne, and it's kind of, I would just say there. Although it obviously is massively about racism, there is also a massive thing to say about class. So I do like that observation. Yeah.
Now, Jack liked your observation, but will he like what you're about to say when I ask you for your cinematic blind spot? What is a massive famous film that everyone has seen but you haven't?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. Most times, someone will ask to me about a movie, and I say I've not seen it, and I usually get the answer, "You've not seen this film." So, at the top of my head, probably the biggest one would be Goodfellas. Never seen it. I want to, but I've never seen it. Never seen Indiana Jones. You keep going about number of movies that I haven't seen. I've never seen Devil Wears Prada. That's another one. Um, yeah, you could probably name me a movie, and I've not seen it.
I recently, well, I sort of rewatched Goodfellas. I was coming back from an event in London, and I was very drunk. And I got KFC, got back to my hotel room, and I left the TV on, and the TV had like Sky Movies, for example. It didn't have, the hotel room didn't have a window, but it had a big TV of Sky Movies on. So what do you will? And I was really pissed, laying on my bed, just watching Goodfellas, and it was such a weird experience because I kept falling asleep, then waking up, and it was just yeah, it's incredible. I love Goodfellas. Definitely watch that if you got the time. Now you've atoned for your sins. You should be very proud of yourself. But in terms of what we haven't watched, or maybe we haven't watched, or the people at home haven't watched, can you set us, the podcast, some film homework for this week?
Definitely Beginners. That's a movie that most people haven't seen, and um, yeah, I would 100% recommend people to watch it. It's got Ewan McGregor in it. It's got Melanie. Oh God, literally, I know her name top of my head, and I'm just googling it real quick because I've Melanie Laurent's in it. Christopher Plummer, and it's about a a guy whose dad passes away, but just before his dad passes away, so well, it's a guy whose dad passes away, but it's got like different timelines. It's not confusing when you watch it. It makes a lot of sense. But when his mum passes away beforehand, his dad comes out as a gay man, and it's his dad living the final years of his life as an out gay man, and it's played by Christopher Plummer, the dad, and Ewan McGregor, the character, who's his character is just he's just a normal guy is the best way of saying it. And it's the only movie I've seen where I can say, oh, people say, oh, he's just a normal guy. And it really makes sense. There really is not much to his character, but it's not in a bad way. It very much fits with the movie. And you can see the character grow himself. He's a bit depressed, but in a way, he kind of reminds me of Edward Norton's character in Fight Club, minus the complete like going insane part of it. Like he's just bland. But in this movie, it works great, and it's a really feel good movie. I don't know why I mentioned Fight Club really, because that probably give people a wrong opinion, not wrong opinion, but they'll think it's a movie like Fight Club, completely different. It's a very feel good movie. A movie about love, about family, and just kind of just life. And I recommend it to everyone, absolutely everyone.
All right, great. Yeah, we'll definitely watch that one in next week. And right before we let you go, quick fire questions game. It's going to be, I don't know, 7 questions. Give me the first thing that comes to your head. Right, ready? Who would you say inspires your style of comedy, or what you find funny?
I don't know if it's a tough one. I could say my favorite comedians in a way with that would be a mix of Jon Stewart, John Oliver, sometimes Nick Mullen and Stavros Halkias and Adam Friedland. The guys on Whose Line Is It Anyway? They're very good as well. Noel Miller. I think very, very underrated as a comedian, especially in a stand-up. I had a chance to see him in Glasgow about a year ago. Decided against it because he was charging 50 quid for some seats, and I thought, no, you're good, but you're not 50 quid good, especially for the basic seats. So that would be, I'd say, my top, and I'm definitely going to have someone I've forgotten about after I've left the school. But those are probably my top ones.
Now, if you had to recruit one footballer and one actor into your improv group, who would you pick?
One footballer and one actor into... Oh, God. Actor... Oh, God. That's a really tough one, actually. Actor, I'd probably go Joel McHale. Or, no, Donald Glover. Donald Glover. Very much Donald Glover. Him or one of the Always Sunny guys. Any one of them, really. And then I would put... Well, actually, you know what? I mean, he did comedy in SNL, but Jason Sudeikis, I think, would do very well. And he obviously got improv experience. And then footballer... trying to think if there's any of them that are kind of naturally funny. There's one, I forgot his name, but he's a Scottish footballer. But he talks a lot about like the Thomas Gravison stuff. You've probably seen clips online. He's gone on the podcast. I think he played for Celtic. Yeah. I think he's quite good.
He's special
in one of the limited stuff. Yeah, in limited
He's a
stuff
funny
I've
guy,
heard, I think he's
very
quite
funny
good.
guy.
So probably him, because I'd say like there's not many footballers that I've heard of that are legitimately funny.
Okay. If you could interview one person, who would it be? One person to interview.
I got a thing on that one. Um,
Who's the first person you thought
mm,
of?
Sir Alex Ferguson.
There you go, Sir
There you
Alex.
go.
And then last question. Would you rather have 4 fingers on each hand or 4 toes on each foot? You have to pick one.
4 toes on each foot.
Okay,
Because
fair
you don't
enough.
necessarily need your
You'd fall
pinky
over all
toe,
the
and
time.
that probably goes
You'd
in.
fall over all the time.
Not necessarily, because pinky toe is probably with evolution is probably going to go away, so could probably
Oh
adapt
wow.
to it quite quickly.
You're ahead of the curve. I got rid of pinky
There we
toes before it
go.
was famous.
Well, there you go.
So-
Exclusive science news from Tom. The pinky toe will go soon.
From a guy who failed biology in school,
Yeah.
said 3 times 1 equals 1 in chemistry class, and has international relations and modern history degree.
Yep. This is an exclusive.
There we go.
Just say it with chest and anyone believes you. It's all about confidence, Tom. You know this. It's all about confidence.
Hey, listen, I'm starting a journalism master's in about a week, so there we go. That's how you get a scoop. That's how you get breaking news. That's how you get a
Yep.
headline.
All right. Well, it's been
Absolutely.
a pleasure having you on, Tom. You've been great.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been absolutely great chatting to you guys.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back. You know, if you start your journalism and have any exclusive scoop for us, any more exclusive scoop for us, you know, always let us know in advance.
Yeah,
Definitely,
Tom, massive thank you,
definitely.
mate.
This
If
is
you
really good fun.
make sure to have a little plug. Have you got anything to promote? It might be Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram, MSN, whatever.
I think I'll just put my Instagram because if this was a few months ago, I'd have loads of things to promote. But now, kind of like in a limbo period when I'm done with uni, I don't have a radio show anymore. I don't have an improv group anymore. So yeah,
Someone
you know
employed
what?
Tom.
Follow.
Someone employed Tom.
Yeah, please. Tom H. Wilson on Instagram, and you know what? Just for old time's sake, because we're posting photos from the Fringe, follow at Blind Mirth on Instagram. That's my old improv group. Just if you want to see cool photos of me coming in from the Fringe, and we've got a professional recording of my final show. Coming, yeah, some student wants the professional recording of it, so paid them 50 quid for it. So that should be going out online at some point. So yeah, check it out. That's it, really.
You heard the man. And if you want to watch a film about improv comedy, you can check out Don't Think Twice on Netflix. So you know, that might satiate your hunger. Yeah, thank you, Tom, and enjoy the rest of the episode. Again, a massive thank you to Tom for coming on the show. Moving on to the football, because you know this episode is weirdly flipped for logistical reasons. Have you watched any football over the last week, or have you got any games lined up as well?
Well, no, I've been busy. I was in Venice, so I haven't watched anything. I left a screening and I saw Liverpool won 3-0 against United. That's basically it. Although, I want to quickly bring up that I made a prediction Alisson was going to win the Golden Glove. I mentioned Slot's pressing traps, and I also said we will be way better defensively than on the Klopp. 3 games, 3 wins, 3 clean sheets is all I have to say. And I also predicted Everton to go down, by the way. And look at how that's going. I'm a football oracle.
Yeah, you can't argue with facts, I'm afraid. So sorry, Everton, but it's over for you guys. I went to one of my, as I said last week, one of my favourite ever fixtures, which is Portsmouth versus Sunderland, because it always delivers entertainment. Unfortunately, it entertained the Sunderland fans, so that wasn't fun. For the match, I went to the staggeringly good brewery. That's what it's called. It's not, you know, I'm not calling it that as an adjective. Met up with Hugh, Andy, and Matt from the Peer Forecast. And had a few pints, which is good. And then had to go watch football in the first half. Well, look, I said it before the game. Mousinho got the lineup wrong, which is rare, but he started Matt Ritchie at right wing, which stunk. You know, he started a midfield of Marlon Pack and Andre Dizel, which wasn't great. And first half we lost the first half, but we were just kind of meh, but not far off it enough where look, our bench was really good. So we could have turned it around, but we didn't change things quick enough. We eventually switched to back three, which sort of worked because we only have one fit centre back at the moment. And then we just kind of every error we made was punished by Sunderland. Sunderland were really, really, really good. Chris Rigg, who is 17, unbelievable footballer. Joe Bellingham, unbelievable. Mundell, really good. Luke O'Nine is so underrated, it's insane. He always impresses me whenever I watch him. They are just really. Trey Hume at right back was fantastic as well. Sunderland are just really, really fucking good, and I back them to do very well this season, especially when you take into account they had a lot of players unavailable. Their bench was really weak because new signings were coming in and stuff. In terms of a positive for Portsmouth, Abdoulaye Kamara, Guinea-Bissawian, I believe, born midfielder. We got him from Dortmund, and he played 30 minutes and got man of the match for Portsmouth. Really, just so classy, so good. I think we'll be fine after the international break because we'll have Shocknessy back, we'll have Farrell back, we'll have Murphy back, we'll have Potts will be available, Kamara will be up to speed. We need Tom McIntyre back. Basically, we've got one centre back, which I think all teams can agree isn't ideal. It's kind of shades of Liverpool in, was it 21-22, Veronika, where you had like Nat Phillips and Reece Williams, I believe. It was it kind of gave me those kind of vibes. But yeah, that wasn't that fun, but we will be fine. The Mighty Blues are going up. It's all right. Now, I will let you into a little podcast secret. This upcoming part of the show is my favourite element of each episode. It's my weekly obscure football quiz, and this week I've had some real fun writing these questions. Veronika, are you up to the challenge of this football quiz to round out the episode?
Yeah, sure.
5 questions. Number 1. Blackburn legend Morten Gamst Pedersen famously had a wand of a left foot, but is Keanu Reeves right-handed or left-handed?
Left.
Correct. That's 1 point on the board.
Yes.
Question number 2. The Burj Khalifa, according to Google, is 828 metres high. And this is multiple choice. Don't worry, you won't have to do much maths. How many times would you have to stack Arnie Slot on top of it himself to reach the same height? Is it A, 318 times, B, 714.6 times, or C, 450 times?
What was the height again?
So the Burj Khalifa is 182 meters. 128 meters high. How many Arnie Slots would you have to stack on top of himself to reach that height?
C.
C is the correct answer. You've gone 2 for 2.
See, because I calculated it in my head. That's why.
Yeah,
I'm just really smart.
These are obscure but attainable. So number 3, Enzo Fernandez allegedly cost Chelsea 107 million. This is multiple choice again, so maths will be easier. How many medium 6 chicken nugget meals from McDonald's could you buy for that price? A, 16,744,913. B, 32,836,018. Or C, 18,847,193.
The second one, the 32 million.
Incorrect, I'm afraid. You could buy 16,744,913.
I thought chicken nuggets were cheaper than that.
Not in the cost of living crisis, I'm afraid. It's fine though. We can bounce back. You've gone 2 for 3, which is a really good record. Number 4. Chelsea legend, I'm going to say legend, Eden Hazard once kicked a ball boy at Swansea. That kid then went on to found AU Vodka. But how much would a 70 centilitre bottle of AU Vodka original cost on Amazon? A, £28. B, £21. C, £32.
I've had a can of the mixed drinks before. It's kind of mid, to be honest. But I know that the bottle looks nice and that's why it's expensive. I'll go with the first one. A.
Correct. It is £28 for a bottle of 70 centiliter bottle of AU vodka original.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean that'd be good vodka. I mean, I've seen their TikTok adverts and they are interesting to say the least. Anyway, your last question. Shane Long once scored the quickest ever Premier League goal. I believe it was away at Watford. But was it quicker or slower than Usain Bolt's 100-meter record?
Slower.
It is unfortunately quicker. Shane Long's
Oh.
goal was something like 7 seconds and 58 milliseconds. Usain Bolt did it in something like 9 seconds. So unfortunately, you are incorrect in that count. But I reckon 3 for 5 is a pretty damn good record. How do you feel about your performance in this one?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty fun questions.
See, that's you only get the best here on Floodlights Camera Action, and that officially takes up to the end of another episode. We hope you enjoyed. Make sure to go back to listen to last week's episode, where, as Veronica alluded to, we're great at predictions and we predicted all of the winners of the big European leagues and competitions. Make sure you drop us a follow/subscription on YouTube and Twitter. It's Floodlights Pod on both. Veronica, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Can you let people know how they can get in contact with us if they wish to do so?
Yeah, anything. If you want to be a guest, if you know a possible guest, if you want to send us a message, a nice message or a not nice message, we'll take it as feedback. Message Jack on Twitter, DM him
Message
at
me the bad
Hancock
stuff and message Veronica the good
Analysis.
stuff.
Yes, please. My Twitter is at Veronica_K9. And our podcast Twitter is at FloodlightsPod, like Jack said. Our email for any inquiries is floodlightpod@gmail.com. And yeah, that's it from me.
Again, a massive thank you to Tom Wilson for coming on the show. Loved our chat with him. But until then, keep consuming and keep watching, and adios.